Alex here at the Health Unit with a cut above the roast. Today we'll be making a ground chicken stir fry, and this recipe is like a favorite in my household. I make it all the time. It always turns out, and every time we have it, we're like, this recipe is so good. Anyways, I'm excited to share it with you today. There's quite a few ingredients, but I'm confident you'll have most of them at home, and you can honestly substitute a lot of them. So let's start talking about the ingredients. I have ground chicken. Now you can use ground turkey, you can use like chicken breast, you can use ground pork, ground beef, maybe. I don't know. If you do that, tell me, but I would maybe stick with the chicken or turkey. You'll need some rice, but you can use rice noodles too if you have that at home, or you can dip naan in it, I guess. Switch it up. An onion, peppers, broccoli, carrots, and now these are just the vegetables that they suggest. You can try whatever you want in this. I sometimes throw celery in there. Whatever I have in my fridge, I just really put it in there. And then some fresh ginger. You could try putting some ground ginger in there as well, just like significantly less. Fresh garlic. I have a little bit of oil, a little bit of white sugar, a white vinegar here for the sauce. You can use rice vinegar as well. And I have some ketchup and soy sauce, and that will really make up the sauce, which is delicious. So let's get started. I'm going to start off by making the rice, because this recipe really should throw together pretty quickly, about 15 to 20 minutes, and you should have a hot meal on the table. So the rice usually takes about 15 to 20 minutes to cook. I'm just using, I think, basmati rice, but whatever rice you have at home, feel free to use that and follow the directions on the packaging. It's usually, for the most part, 1 part rice to 2 parts water. So for this recipe, or for today, I'm making 1 cup of rice, and then I'll be putting in 2 cups of water. And I just cover that up and let that simmer, and it should really be done by about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on the rice. Every rice cooks differently. So I'm just going to throw this in here. And I have some 2 cups of water here, and I'm just going to put that on top, and then cover and simmer. So that's all right. Look at that. Step 1 done. Was it like? Don't you wish it was always that easy? Now, if I can only figure out which knob I'm using for this stove. Okay, there we go. Now, the next portion will be chopping up the ginger, the garlic, and the onion, and sautéing that with the ground chicken. So we'll start with our garlic. This is a nice big piece of garlic. You can use a garlic press if you'd like. So this recipe calls for 3 cloves of garlic. Now these cloves that I've gotten, I'm just gonna grab it. Here, they're hearty cloves. Let me tell you, they're quite big. So I might not use 3. It really depends on your taste, right? I'm just gonna smash it just to get the skin off. I find that sometimes it gets really sticky and it's hard to get off. And so you can use this. This one would be like way too big. Oh my gosh, why can't the skin come off? Smack it again. This one would be too big for a garlic press, but you totally could. So I'm just gonna take out 2 for my, just because I think these 2 are the size of like 3, right? And I'm just gonna chop them up. So the way you chop up garlic, and actually, before I even chop that up, I'm gonna start heating up my my pan here, because I want the oil. I don't want it to be like super hot, but I want it to be like, I want the vegetables to start cooking while I'm cutting them up. So I'm just putting a little bit of oil in there, and then I'll start with this one here because it'll be a better demo how to do it. You kind of want to cut across, and now you want it to be relatively finely cut, because you don't want massive chunks of garlic. Mind you, everyone's got their taste, so if you want massive chunks of garlic in your dish, feel free to put that. And you're just going to go across, and this is going to get, this one I didn't do that finely. Oops. Anyways, there's always another clove I can work on. This one's also mashed up pretty good. That's why I mash them sometimes, but not always, because sometimes I find it then really hard to like cut up nicely. But anyways, then you can't get the skin off. This one's back a little bit. There you go. And I'm just going to cut this across. So with 3 cloves of garlic, you could use, if you didn't have garlic at home, you could use garlic powder, I guess. You'd probably use a bit less, maybe about a teaspoon of it. But I would encourage you to do fresh garlic with this. Now I'm just going to cut it across, chop it up a bit, and then throw it into my stove. I just threw that everywhere. Hopefully that got caught on camera. All right, wipe my hands off. Next up is going to be the ginger. Now ginger you're going to need about 2 tablespoons. So you kind of want to eyeball like which of these knobs are going to be about 2 tablespoons. Let's go with this one. Okay. And so the way you peel ginger is that you want to use a spoon, not like a peeler, and you just kind of scrape it along, and the skin should just kind of come off relatively easily. It doesn't have to be like super perfect, but there we go. And you just kind of want to get all this the brown skin off. And then you could use a knife for sure to cut up ginger. Ginger's a little bit more potent than you'd have like for like garlic. And so, put this over here. So you want to I use a grater. I find it way easier, and I use it on the small portion, like the really fine grating, and I just kind of grate it. And you're really kind of just eyeballing 2 tablespoons. If you're gonna do ground ginger, so like dried ginger, I wouldn't, definitely do not put in 2 tablespoons. It's a little bit more potent than your fresh stuff. So I'd put maybe in like a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons, really taste it. And the way that I would do it if you're gonna do like a dried ginger is I'd put your onions in there and then season the onions with the spice, instead of putting in the onions like garlic I am right now. And there's some I find that ginger's got this like rough kind of part to it, so I usually just throw that out because it's really hard to grate. And honestly, graters are like the worst for your fingers. I find that oftentimes you're just trying to get like the last little bit grated, and you like cut off your finger. Not cut off your finger, but you know, you like cut the tip of it. Anyway, so there's your ginger there, beautiful. And I'm just going to throw that in. Beautiful. And then I'm going to cut up my onion. So now the onion is, it's not that hard to cut, as long as you know how you do it. So you got your root, your root's down here, and your stem. You're going to cut it from stem to root, all the way down across, making sure you use your claws so you don't get your fingers. And then you're going to cut off the stem portion of your onion. Throw that out, and then you're going to peel off. You're going to leave that root intact as something to kind of like hold on to. And you're going to peel off, depending on how, this is a pretty fresh onion, I find. So they're, usually harder to get off. So you're just going to take off the outside of the onion. And I can hear, I don't know if you can hear it, probably not, but it's starting to sizzle over here in terms of the garlic and the ginger. And so, back to the onion. You're going to cut it across. And then back kind of the other way until you guys got to have like a finely minced, not super finely minced, but a minced garlic. And now that I'm doing this, I'm thinking you could probably do bigger chunks of this because it is a stir fry, right? And then across again. Like it depends. Onions you can do big pieces, smaller pieces with this recipe. It doesn't really matter. I think mouthfeel is all the same. I'm going to throw in the chicken, and as you, paper's still on there. And I'm just going to break it up a bit, and I'm just going to brown the chicken with the garlic and the ginger and the onions in there. And just keep kind of cooking it and breaking it apart as it kind of browns, and as the other kind of vegetables soften a bit. And while this is happening, we're going to cut up our vegetables. Start off with the broccoli. Now, the broccoli you just need into bite-sized pieces. I love broccoli in a stir fry, just because I feel like it like soaks up all this. Oh my gosh, that's not the knife I want. It soaks up all the sauce, and it's just like delicious. And my little guy calls them like little trees, and he eats them only because they're green and they're his favorite color. Kids are silly like that. Anyways, I'm just going to cut off the bottom and then pull off some of these bigger pieces. These bigger pieces here, I'm going to cut into half because you want them to cook pretty quickly, and the big pieces take a little bit longer. That is garbage. Okay. Throw that in here. And just break these off. You don't really need a knife really to do the broccoli. And then I'm cutting these bigger pieces into half. I always like to include things like celery if I have it, or like you could do like zucchini slices. That's actually a pretty good size. I'm trying to think of other vegetables. Snap peas is another great one for a stir fry. Cauliflower if you have it. Really any vegetable. This is like why I love this recipe, because like whatever's in my fridge I can throw in and it's going to taste amazing. So there's the broccoli, and I'm going to do the peppers next. Just move away from this broccoli florets. So for peppers, the way that I do it is that I put them down with the stem down and I cut around. And what I find is that they cut like really nice flat pieces to it. This one's got a little bit of the pulp in it. But for the most part, they're really nice and flat, and they're super easy to cut then. And I'm just going to cut them up into bite-sized pieces. I'm going to do 2 peppers in this one. You could do green peppers, whatever color peppers you have at home. Feel free to throw them in. Yeah, and they're super fast to cut. So I'm just going to cut another one really quickly. And check on this beautiful chicken. All right. Cut up the pepper really quickly. And then the last vegetable I'm going to do is like carrots. And you'll probably put about 2 carrots in there. And the way that I cut carrots is I cut them on the diagonal. And I'll show you that in a second. It's just fancy, and sometimes it's fun to do fancy things that are super fast with your meal. So here's the carrot, and I already peeled it, but I'm just going to cut it on a diagonal. And it just like looks nice in your bowl, and they're... Now, with your knife skills, throw that in there. You want to make sure your thumb and your index finger is kind of sitting around the knife. And you want to make sure that the tip of the blade stays on your board. That makes sure that you have better control of what you're cutting. And then you just go through, making sure that your fingers are kind of out of the way. Kind of. They better be out of the way, otherwise you're going to cut them off. Perfect. Okay, let's take a look at this ground chicken. That is actually looking great in terms of the chicken getting brown. It's beautiful. And so now we can add our beautiful vegetables. And just look how beautiful and colorful this is. Wonderful. Who would not want to eat this? Come on. So lovely and colorful. Lots of veggies, lean meat. You have the rice with it. Lovely complete meal here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this up just so that the steam can kind of cook the vegetables a little bit quicker. And while that's happening, I'm going to make the sauce. And by the time I'm done making the sauce, these should be a good like tender crisp texture, and we can add the sauce to it, and dinner's done. Look at that. Boom. So put the lid on that. Perfect. So now we're going to get the sauce done. Now the sauce in the original recipe calls for maybe about 3 tablespoons of both the ketchup and the soy sauce. Now, I do not feel like that's enough sauce for me. I like a nice saucy stir fry. So I doubled it. So it'll be about like 1/3 of a cup or 100 mils of each your ketchup and your soy sauce. So I'm going to put that in. And the nice thing about this sauce recipe is it's like so fast to put together. And I've put it on like lots of different vegetables, like I said, and meats, and it's great. It's like got a lovely flavor to it. So I'm just going to throw in my ketchup. And I know it seems like a lot, but there we go. And then my soy sauce. And I just put that on top. So then, there we go. And I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now, you can put brown sugar in here if you wanted to, or whatever sweetener you have at home. Or you can just say, I'm sweet enough. No? No one's here to laugh at my jokes, or tell me how lame they are. Okay, and then about 4 teaspoons of just like your regular white vinegar. You could use like a rice vinegar if you have that at home as well. I usually have a rice vinegar, so I usually use that, but white vinegar works as well. And you're going to put about 4 teaspoons in there. Oops, that last teaspoon was generous. Okay. And you are going to mix this up. And voila, sauce is ready to go. I'm just going to check on these vegetables just to see if they're kind of the right texture. And if you're making this recipe with kiddos, mind you that the whole vegetable and cooking part might be a little tricky, but you can definitely get them to make the sauce with you and then pour the sauce on, as long as they're careful around the oven. Perfect. Throw that here, and let's take a look at these vegetables. Oh. Here. Looking wonderful. Look how, I love how broccoli just brightens up its colors whenever you cook it. It just like, it goes from this like matte green to this like gorgeous, like bright, vibrant green. It's just so lovely. And you can really cook it as long as you want. But you don't want like your vegetables to be, like super mushy and like kind of like, I don't know, like flatten on your fork. Anyways, so you want to make sure you just kind of get it to tender crisp. I usually undercook it to leave it crunchier than I would typically do it, and then like as it's sitting on my plate, it will like continue cooking and kind of get to the right texture. So all you have to do at this point is add the sauce. Beautiful. Mix that around. And by this point, your rice should be done. And wonderful. Dinner's ready. Excellent. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just dish some up, because you'll see it's just like such a lovely, warm, hearty dish. And like it's great for like kids. The vegetables are nice and soft. The chicken is like a ground chicken, so it's pretty small for their, you know, in terms of like bite size, and it's usually a little bit more tender than you would get with bigger pieces of chicken, so it's easier for them to chew. Lots of lovely things. And my little guy just like loves to pick out the vegetables based on their colors. Like there's lots of fun things that you can do like that. So let's just dish this up quickly and show you. The rice is done. Beautiful. This lovely stir fry next to it. Oh my goodness. What happens when you cook? I get so hungry. Anyways, look at that. Gorgeous, filling, beautiful meal. Make it at home. Tell me what you think. Enjoy, and happy cooking. Bye.